It's nice to meet you all. You're going to become fairly intimate with our staff come election day. So I'm Haley, this is Chrissy, and that's Ryan, like he said. And so hopefully today everyone here is a clerk. Maybe you're a judge that just couldn't make the other days. But hopefully everyone here is a clerk. And we're going to kind of go over your all's duties, what election day is going to look like, and anything that might come your all's way. And as you can see on this one, we're going to have, if you've done it before, we do have a few new things to go over. And so we're just asking that because there are so many of you all, that you just kind of be polite to those around you and be polite to us. Please try not to talk. If you do have to take a personal cell phone call or something, you can step outside if you need to. Restrooms are in the back. And as it says up there, please feel free at any point to ask any questions. Even if it's in the middle of a sentence, just raise your hand. If it's 5 slides back, I'd rather you ask me right then and there than you have to try and remember at the very end of the presentation. So that's just really important for today. So now we're just going to get into it. First, we're going to start with some of the important things you're going to see and just knowing the names of them. So first off, we have the supply boxes. Your inspectors will have this. This is going to come with a lot of that stuff up there that's really important for Election Day. So we've got, obviously, everyone's favorite of the I voted stickers, black pens, which will always be used by the voters. Voters will never get a red pen. They will only be filling out ballots with black or blue pens. They should never, ever, ever get their hands on a red pen. The red pens will be for you all. For all of the workers, that will be we'll cover that in a little bit, but you'll be initialing the ballots if you're at the ballot table. You can fill out forms. If you need to fill out a form, you can do it in red pen. We just don't want the voters getting red pen. It's also going to have a lot of other things. Magnifying sheet if someone needs to just see the print a little bit larger. Letter opener, we'll talk about seals and everything like that, breaking seals as well. Excuse slips if someone's coming from work or school, something like that. Lot of stuff. The next thing on the right side, which this is what that supply box looks like, this is going to be the signage kit. Hopefully your inspectors are going to set that up, put those up the night before on Monday night, but they might not have, and you all might have to do it come Tuesday morning. So the signage kit has a few things. We've got the Voter Bill of Rights, which comes in Spanish and English. You've got general signs, so there's a no electioneering sign, there's a handicap accessibility sign, instructions for voters on how to mark ballots. We fill it in, we don't check, we don't X, and sample ballots that are going to be specific to your polling location and your precinct. And then going into precinct signs, you're going to get a precinct map that will outline what the precinct looks like. You're going to get a precinct sign with hours for that polling location, as well as a precinct sign that says the numbers. So today, a lot of the examples will have Charlestown 4, 6, and 7. That's mine. I'm partial. So as that example would be precinct sign with numbers, it would be Charlestown 4, 6, 7. Then you're going to have important notice to voters, which will also come in Spanish and English. So those are the contents of the signage kit. Next will be, hopefully another thing that is set up on Monday night, are the poll booths. So the poll booths are delivered prior to Election Day. Hopefully your inspector will set them up. So this is referred to, one of these with the handle is a poll booth case. One case comes with 2 poll booths. So it's going to have 8 legs in it, 2 partitions, and then that blue thing you see, 2 sides. So that will make, one case will make 2 poll booths. It's really important to know that come disassembling your polling location. Those things can be hard to set up, so hopefully you won't have to do that and you'll only have to break them down. They're going to stay there after election night, but they do need to be broken down and put back into their cases. And then like you all can see, we recommend that either a black or blue pen goes into them. That way no one's walking up to a poll booth and not having a pen there, and that way they don't have to try and grab for a pen and accidentally grab a red pen. So that's really important. Next, we're going to kind of go into some more of the machines. So The auto marks are essentially ADA compliant ballot marking machines. So they can do a lot of really, really cool features. Essentially, the voter might need, it has a few capabilities. If they are vision impaired or blind, it comes with headphones that they can put on and it will read the ballot to them. Their ballot will just slide right in. It can also translate to Spanish. It can read in Spanish. There's a lot of cool things it can do. And there will be a guide. Your inspector will have a guide on all of its capabilities. But it's just important that you all also know the names of these things. Again, so not a lot of locations use these, but there are some that do have a few voters who need to use them. So they're important to know. Next, we are going to cover ballot bags and the DS200 machines. So this year, we have something great for everyone. We have new ballot bags. So these are going to be precinct specific. This one, like I said, Charlestown 4, 6, and 7. They are going to essentially hold the voted ballots. So your inspector will show up on the day of the election, and they might be carrying stuff in it. It's very convenient. It works like a little carry-on. This will be put into the bottom of the DS200, which we're going to cover next. But this essentially will hold the voted ballots during the day when they are putting them into the machine. That way, come end of the day, you can slide it right out. No one has to get on their hands and knees to pull the ballots out. No one likes that. So, yes, that's a great thing. And we have that for every single machine, even the places that have 2 machines. So, again, they will go into the DS200s. So DS200s are the tabulating machine. The voter will put their ballot, once they're done, into those. It will go through. It will read it. That ballot will drop down into that bag. These machines will also be there. And we kind of just wanted to inform you all, this is something your Democratic judge and your inspector will do, but the black ballot bag will be emptied and be placed inside. Before it's placed inside, there will be unvoted ballots there that are precinct specific that will need to come out. And your inspector hopefully will assign you all to bring those to the ballot table wherever they have deemed the ballot table to be, and you will sort those, and we'll go into that. But it will be emptied out from the bottom. The ballot bag will be put in there at the end of the night. That bag will come out. We'll make sure that you all will make sure that all of the voted ballots are inside. There's nothing stuck in the machine. And then whatever unvoted ballots you all didn't use will go back in there, and that will be locked away. So yeah, that's the DS200. Next are the poll pads. These are very, very important for you all. These are going to be what you all will be at for most of the day if you're not at the ballot table. So they are going to remain sealed until election day. So we're kind of telling your all's clerks to say that you all will be breaking the seal. If you have the case, always, you can call us. You'll have my number on all of these. If you notice anything weird where maybe the seal was broken, there can be accidents, but the seal should stay intact and the poll pad should be inside. No one should have opened those until election day morning. So if you feel uncomfortable with anything, you can contact me. I'm in charge of the poll pads, really. So those are my babies. I would love if you all would if you feel uncomfortable with anything, just let me know. So they are going to have on the side in this picture, I forgot I have a little. Oh.
What's the big button in the middle? You turned it off. Okay.
Anyways, so right here, on all of them, it's kind of hard to see, it's blurry. Each of these cases are going to be labeled with your polling location and a number. So it's really important that hopefully your inspector will check as well, that you are making sure that number or where that number is, that polling location that it says is your polling location that you're at. Because if not, it's a very, very bad situation. So that number on there is really important. It doesn't match to your precincts. So each poll pad and printer will also have a number associated. So the one I just picked up is 73. So this is poll pad, which is just an iPad, 73, and printer 73. So these all go together. and they should come out of the same case, and they will go back into the same case together. All numbers should be together with that way. In these, you're going to get a hotspot or a cradle point. Most places will have hotspots. Those locations that are really out there that have really bad internet will get a cradle point. She's about to hold up a hotspot. Very small. We'll kind of cover that in a little bit. Like I said, this one isn't labeled, but any of the cases that come with a hotspot inside will have a second sticker underneath that says hotspot included, or the cradle points will say cradle point in separate box. So just make sure that those hotspots get back into their boxes. More information on those will be in front of you all. You're more than welcome to bring the presentation with you on election day so you can just keep up. And your inspector will also have poll pad information in their binder. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into this. Like I said, I showed you all the inside, but this is what it'll look like when it comes packed. So you're going to have the entire case open. The poll pad, which is just an iPad, will be up at the top. Underneath this, that is the base. Underneath the base will come the cords for the printer. So that's where they will be, as well as the arm. So the arm is what's right now holding up the poll pad. This thing right here that I'm touching with my finger, that is the arm. That is all going to come underneath the stand. The arm and the printer cables. Down beneath it, you're going to have the ID tray, which is what is hanging off the front of it. That's where you'll set anyone's driver's license or Indiana ID card. That's the ID tray. Slightly above the ID tray will be the poll pad charger, regular lightning charger, like for most iPhones and everything, as well as the block that will go into the wall or your extension cord. Next to it, if you have a poll pad case that has a hotspot, the hotspot and its charger will be in this little section right here, and above that will be your printer. So again, when you open it, make sure that you'll see the back side of the poll pad, make sure the number on there matches the number on the printer, matches the number on the side of the case. And when you turn them on, this is what, after you log in, this is going to be referred to as the check-in home screen. So this is what it should look like, and these are just some more information. Your check-ins, which you will have to report at the end of the day, and you want to be 0. We'll cover that in a second. Your check-ins are right there. Up here, where there's this envelope, that is the icon area. So you have, in order from left to right, you have the envelope, which is the messaging icon. Then you have the printer, which is the printer icon. And then you have a little cloud with an arrow. That is the sync icon. Now we're going to cover these a little bit more. So, like I said, top right, the envelope is the messaging icon. That is going to be for essentially texting us. We'll cover this a bit later. That's going to be for texting us as well as video calls. So that's what that envelope is for. Next is the printer connection. So if for some reason your printer gets unplugged, that printer icon will go from green to red. Or let's say you get everything out, you plug it in, but it's still red. It might just be that this switch on the side of the printer's off. So if it's red, I would do some investigating, make sure that your printer's on, it's plugged in, stuff like that. If not, then you know it's a different issue. But it should be green. It should automatically connect when you set everything up. Next is the sync status. So throughout the day, your poll pad should be syncing to us. Essentially, that is sending the voters that have come to your polling location and checked in, that information goes back to us, so that way we can kind of monitor how the election's going, not who is showing up, but how many are showing up, stuff like that. So it's really important to make sure that that sync status stays green. It might turn yellow, it might turn red. That just means that if it's yellow, it hasn't synced in a while, or it is attempting to, or it's been paused. It could be the internet connection. Most likely it is the internet connection. If it's red, that means it has not synced in quite a long time. It could be an hour, could be 2. If it gets really bad, we will contact you all or your inspector to figure that out. And then above that, just as it is with a lot of iPhones and Android phones. That's where you can see if you are connected to the internet and what percentage the poll pad is at. So that's just some important information there. And it is very important to monitor those throughout the day. We can't really check all poll pads at once, so just keep in mind you can keep the poll pads plugged in all day if you'd like to. If not, just make sure that you will most likely get an alert message when it gets to 50% that you need to plug it in. But just, be cautious, watch those. It'll help everything stay afloat. So now we're going to go over Election Day morning. So it's really important that everyone working at the polling location is going to arrive at 5 a.m., not 5:15, not 5:30. You've got quite a bit to do in the morning. We want to make sure that you get there at 5, and that way everything that needs to get done in that hour can get done in that hour. Do not park close to the building. So there's a bit of a caveat to this. So you can park close in the morning if you need to bring something in. If you are getting dropped off, they can drop you off close. You all are going to be there the whole day. You cannot leave. If someone does leave your polling location that is a worker, please contact us. That's bad. That's a no-no. You're going to be there all day from 5 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. So there's no reason for you to park right next to the building. That is very important for voters that might have a disability, might need to access something, a ramp, can't walk that far. So just try and park back parking lot or just a decent bit away to leave room for voters. Next is dress in layers. So not everyone has the same temperature level. Right now I'm sweating like crazy, and I'm sure some people think it's cold in here. So dress in layers so that way whatever your polling location is like, you can dress comfortably for yourself. You can leave clothes in the car, like a jacket, sweatpants, anything like that, and you can run out and go get that, but you can't drive home and go get something. But you are allowed to essentially run out to your car. Next is bring lunch and snacks. Like I said, it's going to be a super long day. You're not allowed to leave and go get your lunch. If someone brings you lunch, they cannot sit down and eat with you. Sorry, you got to be a bit of a hermit. Not really. You can talk to your other poll workers, but you can't be social that day and try and have lunch with a bestie. So getting the polling locations ready. So come Election Day morning, your inspectors, once you all get in the building, they will administer the oath to you all. That is going to come from the blue oath book that they have. Then your Democratic judges will administer the oath to your inspector. After that, both of them have very important stuff on getting the polling location set up. So you all are going to essentially open and set up the poll pads. So you're going to break the seals like we talked about that are going to be on the poll pads. They're going to be green seals, very easy. They're like zip ties. They're just green. And then you're going to follow the setup instructions, which we're going to go over, going to watch a video, as well as making sure everything's set up, making sure things are plugged in, everything's running, yada, yada. And we'll watch a video next on how to actually set these up. I don't know if you all got the chance to see us do that. So at this time, ballots are going to be taken out of the DS200, like we talked about. Those will be unvoted ballots. Your inspector should have chosen a ballot table that can either be with the poll pads or a different table separate from the poll pads. After they take those out, obviously they're going to have to put that in with their judge, so they might assign you all to organize your ballots. So it's really important that wherever the ballot table is, they are neat and they are organized, and we're going to go further into detail about how they need to be set out and organized. All right, we're going to watch a video now. I might have to oh, come on. I might have to leave the presentation. Christy, did you get the lights?
Does anybody have any questions so far?
Questions, comments, concerns?
What's wrong with the red pen?
The machine will not read a red pen at all.
Mm-hmm.
Can you actually, if you're working at your precinct, can you vote that day there?
If you are, yeah, we'll cover that too. You can vote there that day. It's honestly a really great way to make sure that all of your equipment's working. So if you are working at the location you normally vote at, then you can vote there. And if you aren't, we're going to cover that at the very end. All right, here's this video.
is the laptop.
Shell. Press buttons on the side of the arm and place in circular opening.
All right, let's start over. There we go.
To attach stand arm, place iPad face down on a flat surface and attach the stand arm to the iPad shell. Press buttons on the side of the arm and place in circular opening. Release buttons and turn the arm until you hear a click. Connect stand arm to the base. Attach the ID tray. Insert stylus. To charge your pull pad, locate the USB power adapter and connect to the Lightning to USB cable. Take the cable and connect to the pull pad. Then plug the adapter into the electrical source. Use your finger to press the power button located on the top of your iPad until you see the Apple icon. The pull pad will power on automatically when connected to a power source. The Getting Started screen on pull pad. To review, confirm the name of the jurisdiction, name of election, and election date are correct.
All right, so the one thing it didn't cover, but thank you, Harrison County, Indiana, they posted that, is that when you set it up, you will also have to plug the printer in. The printer essentially has two cords that you'll find. Some of them might already be put together, but the cords will come maybe separated like this. You'll plug it in, you can get it in, and then you'll have the actual power goes into the back. Just make sure that the flat part of this goes in and that the little prongs match the holes when you put it in. But there's a little circle power. Yeah?
What needs to be printed?
We're going to cover that next, or soonish. So essentially, you'll be checking in voters, and the voters, once they are checked in, they get a little pull pad receipt, is what we call them. That just has their information of what ballot they selected, so it's a primary, that's really important, as well as their name, their address, and their precinct. So that's the pull pad receipt, and we will cover that. So more helpful setup tips. Like I said, hopefully your all's inspectors have done most of the setup. But if not, we ask that you make sure that the polling location is somewhat organized. We want to make sure that it's very distinct where the check-in is, and that there's a clear path going from check-in to the ballot table, to voting, to the machines, and then to leaving. Keep tripping hazards to a minimum. Obviously, none of you want to trip, none of the voters want to trip. Arrange tables so that, like we've said, the poll pads might need to be plugged in. Your printers 100% will need to be plugged in. So make sure that the tables are close to a power outlet. You will get an extension cord if you need it. But even then, it's just better to plan ahead for all of that. The inspector might have an area in mind. I would just ask them. There might be some forms a voter needs to fill out. So it is good to know where they might pull a voter to if they need to fill out those forms. So just ask your inspector. All right. So before we go into check-in, we're going to cover ID requirements. So the acceptable forms of ID are your Indiana driver's license, the Indiana ID card, a U.S. passport, and a military or veteran ID. If it is outside of those, so the best example is IU Bloomington. Go Hoosiers. If they have their student ID card and it has a photo of them, their name, an expiration date, and an issued by the state of Indiana, so IUB state school, issued by the state of Indiana, that is an acceptable ID. Now, we can go a little bit more into the expiration date. So, it must be current, or it needs to have expired after the last general election. There's the date for you. So, if it expired 11/7/2022, nope. If it expired 11/9/2022, yes. So that is more on the expiration date. Most of the time, we haven't really had that many people come up about the IDs and bringing school IDs and anything like that. But it is something that is important for you all to know. If you have any more super in-depth questions, this is your Bible. This is from the state. Really goes into the rules and law and legal stuff about it. So refer back to that. And it'll give more examples. So it's also important that if a voter doesn't have their ID, just stop the check-in, don't turn them away, and send them to your inspector. There are a few things that can happen. We won't go into that with you all. That's more for your inspectors. A lot of information. That's why the inspectors get paid the big bucks, because they get a very long explanation on all of that. So it's just important to know, don't turn them away, just stop checking them in, send them to the inspector, and the inspector will deal with it. Yeah, next slide. All right, so now for checking in voters. So this is what you all will be doing on the poll pads. This is the super important part for you all. So this is going to kind of go into more very specific stuff, but we do have a video that we are going to watch, and then we'll kind of cover and go over it just a little bit more after the video. Can you all get the lights again, please? Thank you.
Yeah, clicker for the lights.
Oh,
Say goodbye to old, costly cable TV once and for all. This revolutionary invention gives you access to your favorite.
To review, confirm the name of the jurisdiction, name of election, and election date are correct. Check that the polling location is correct. This is the most important. Verify that the check-in count is 0. Check that battery life is sufficient, recommended over 90%. If all is correct, press Get Started, and you are ready to process voters. Processing voters on PollPad. When processing a voter, you can either scan a barcode on a compatible identification, such as driver's license or voter ID card, or look up the voter manually by searching for their name or other identifying information. Examples of compatible identification for your local jurisdictions will be shown on the PollPad screen. Refer to guidelines from your elections office for information on types of identification used on election day. To search for a voter by scanning a compatible ID, first place the identification in the ID tray on the back of the poll pad so that the barcode faces the camera on the poll pad. Then tap Scan Barcode. This will bring up the voter's ID who you just scanned in the poll pad. Follow all on-screen instructions to properly process the voter. Refer to instructions from the election office for further information on processing voters. To process a voter using manual entry, tap on the manual entry button. Enter the first 3 letters of the voter's last name. And the first 3 letters of the voter's first name in the corresponding fields, and tap Search. This will show a list of all voters who meet the search criteria entered. Once the voter is identified,
Okay, so, they give you their ID, you put it in there, but it's expired.
Mhm.
And, I mean, is it gonna like turn red or something, tell you it's expired, you gotta be careful to
It
check?
will tell you that it's expired.
It will tell us,
Mhm.
it like show that date to make sure it,
It'll say identification expired, and then you look at the ID and you can tell when it expired. And
date
it-
is
yeah.
expired.
hmm So all IDs will tell you expiration date. If you look at it and it's before or after that date, then you know if it's good or not.
Yeah, which, like we said, and also the video is good. You can get the lights again. Like we said, you're more than welcome to bring that the presentation in front of you all with you, just so you can kind of have that date next to you. But yes, it will tell you. Yeah.
And in fact, we highly recommend that you bring everything with you that we've given you, just so you know what you're doing that day.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Would the license branch be open like it was last night from 6 to 6?
I believe the BMV will still be open. I'm not 100% certain on that. Do you have more information? there?
Angela, have you heard if the license branch said that they were gonna be open the day before the election?
I have not checked with them, but they usually are open election day.
Oh, like, yeah.
So if someone shows up at 6 a.m. and their license is expired, direct them to go to the BMV if they're open.
Yeah.
Because they can come back and use their temporary ID to vote.
Now, they can use their expired ID, but what is it? It's the day after the previous election, isn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of the general.
Of the general. So if they show up with their license expired, if it expired the day after the most recent general election,
Which is 11/8/22.
which is 11/8/22, no, 23.
No, the
22.
municipal wasn't a
Oh, I got you, I
countywide.
got you.
It has to be a countywide election. That's
Right.
why the 23 does not count.
Oh, okay. So,
But if it expired the day after, they're still good to go. If
Right.
it was the day before, they're not good to go.
yeah.
Yes. So this page kind of goes a little bit more in depth, just because that's a very generic one. So the manual entry can also be used if someone does not wish to have their ID scanned, or it is something that can't be scanned. So that could be that passport. So that is another way that you can look up a voter. We recommend that you only put in the first 3 letters of their last name and the first 3 letters of their first name. Obviously, you would get that ID from them and have it in front of you, so that way you don't have to guess on how to spell a name. But that is the best. The less letters, the better. Yeah.
You put a comma between the first and
No, so it's 2 different areas. So it's going to be the last name in its own box that you type in, and then you click over to a different box, and then that's the first name.
Okay.
So, yep, that's important. The less letters, the better. It's going to give you more options, more likely that you will find them. So don't try typing in their full name, especially because sometimes the BMV can send over their name spelled incorrectly. So then you will ask, and we'll have these set up for you all to come look at them after the training and everything, but we're just going to go through this. So ask if the address listed is correct. You're going to get 2 options, either address unchanged or address changed. If that address there is correct, you will press address unchanged, and you're going to keep going through check-in. If it is not correct, you will press address changed. Did I just say that? I meant address unchanged for that it's good.
You did it good. You did
Okay.
it.
So you will click address change if they say that that is not where they are currently residing. You will stop the check-in process. You're going to call over your inspector, and your inspector is going to pull them away to go fill out a form. It's called the VRG 412. And this is essentially going to be updating and correcting their voter registration record. And then once they are done filling that out, when they come back in line, you'll check them in again. You'll press address changed. It's going to ask, did they fill out this form? You're going to say continue or yes, whatever the option is, and then go forward with checking them in.
And while you're waiting for them to fill out that form, you can back out the process and take the next voter.
Yes.
You don't have to stop all check-ins. You just go back.
Yes, the inspector is told to lead them back to the very front of the check-in line, but we want to make sure that all of the other voters can go ahead and get through, especially depending on how long it's going to take that person to fill out that form. But yes, you can continue checking in other voters until they come back.
How many of those are there at each poll? One?
It depends.
Yes, it'll depend. So there's River Valley is getting 7.
That's right.
Yes, so you have 7 of them.
That's the school.
Are you at Riverside though?
No, we're
I'm pretty sure you said
No, I
Riverside.
think the school.
The Laurel, yeah, it's
Both
a
are
school.
Jeff.
And they're both.
They're both in Jeff.
Which one
I have no idea. There are majority of locations are going to get at least 2. Some will get 3. Some will get 4. There are some with 1 poll pad, but that's because there are very little voters that are supposed to be going there. But it's going to be a pretty easy way for the voter to just step away, and that way anyone else in line can keep going through.
One more question.
Mm-hmm.
So, you don't ask them what party they vote, which they want, it's on there?
Mm-hmm.
So then, how do you know, do we see it and hand them the right
So we'll get to that. You're good. I'm happy everyone's asking questions. So the next thing, this is still going to be on the poll pad. There's quite a few options. So because it is a primary election, they will have to choose a party. We do not have public question at all this time. There are no public question ballots. We've had to explain that over the phone to a lot of the absentee people. But they will have to choose a party. If you are on the poll pads and you are checking someone in, you will get to a screen that says Democrat and Republican. You will not click those, and you will not ask them. You are going to turn the poll pad around, like so, and ask them to choose their party, and then press, what does the button say? Press accept. So you're going to ask them, will you choose your party? Press accept, and then after they press accept, you'll ask them to sign. So the poll pad can kind of be turned around to them for a little while. It will be, please choose your party and press accept, then sign the poll pad. Yes?
Are we asking them to choose a party or choose which party ballot they want to vote in?
Choose which party ballot they would like, but it's just a lot easier to say choose a party.
Okay.
Because it's gonna, yeah.
When we check people in, are we supposed to make sure, or at least try to make sure that the person looks vaguely like their photo?
Yes, so you should be getting that you should be getting that ID from them. You should physically be holding it and touching it and looking at it to set it inside of that ID tray, or when you're typing it in. It's also just very courteous to kind of make eye contact with the voter and talk to them and not just be down here. So yes, obviously, that's kind of a given. Make sure that some dude isn't walking in with my ID. All right.
If you do have that, which we don't, I haven't seen it recently at least, call your inspector.
Yes.
Is essentially what you would do.
Yes.
So what's he asking about if you make sure that person that's on the picture is the person you're talking to?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, that's what he's.
Yep. So you will not, and this is highlighted because it is so important. At no point will you be, whether you're at the poll pads or at the ballot table, will you be asking the voter which party ballot that they selected. All right?
Oh, you mean after?
But when they're checking in, you're going to turn the poll pad. They're going to choose on the screen.
But I'm going to give them the ballot.
Yep, we're going to cover it. Don't worry. So if you're at the check-in or if you're at the ballot table, you aren't going to ask them. We're going to cover that in a second. So at this point, they might say, I'm going to need help filling out a ballot. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm going to step back for a second. So the party ballot selection. They can choose whichever party they would like to pull their ballot, and they can go back and change that until the receipt for them gets printed. As soon as this receipt is printed, they are not allowed to make a different decision. They are not allowed to change. There are plenty of buttons on here that say go back or start over, but as soon as they press accept enough times and continue, and this prints, as soon as it's printed, they cannot go back and change it. All right?
And that is why we do not make the selection for them, and that it's on them to make their own selection.
Exactly. So they might say at some point that they are going to need help filling out the ballot. My grandpa used to have very shaky hands. That can be a reason that they need someone to help fill out the ballot. So they will have to fill out a form. Not they. whoever is going to assist them will need to fill out a form. A lot of the times it could be a family member with them. It could also be just a friend, doesn't have to be family. Or 2 poll workers, one of each party, will fill out that form and then help mark their ballot at the poll booth with them. But they must have that form filled out before that voter and whoever is assisting them steps to a poll booth. All right? Your inspector will help fill them out, help them fill that paper out. So that is another one where they can step aside and that inspector will help check them out, whatever. Then they can go get their ballot, or then they can continue checking in at the poll pad, wherever they say that they're going to need help with. Yep?
What if a voter is confused and thinks they can vote, they don't understand they have to pick a party? What if they, when you turn that around, they say, oh, I want to vote for both?
That's just not possible.
We can just say,
Yeah.
you have
Yeah,
to choose one.
if they want to vote, they have to
Right.
choose one.
In
Yes.
the primary,
That,
yeah.
I mean, that happens. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is essentially voting for the general of who's going to be on that ballot then. If they don't want to choose, that's up to them. They can step away. They are not going to be able to vote. They have to pick.
Right.
Yeah.
Always feel free if someone is getting belligerent or anything like that. All of our contact information will be available everywhere.
Yeah.
So you're encouraged to call us if anybody gets belligerent or anything.
Where you gonna be, so close?
The phone.
We'll be on the phone. We'll be traveling around the county.
So if someone's belligerent, right then and there, are you gonna be there?
Yeah. Your inspector can deal with them up to a certain point, and then your inspector will most likely either call us themselves to deal with them, or tell them, sorry, you have to call voter registration. It's above us. You know, we're government employees for a reason. We're gonna know more than the inspector, and we can really answer their question more. Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier, if identification assessment can't match the ID, you go to our inspector.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Your inspector is essentially the manager of your polling location. So it's super important to just, if anything's going on that you feel is out of your range of responsibilities, get your inspector. If the inspector feels like it's out of their range of their responsibilities, they're going to get us. Yeah.
I didn't hear her question. I couldn't hear
She asked about the inspector with the ID, that if it doesn't match that person to get the inspector. Yes, always. Yep.
This is my first time voting in Indiana, so you don't have independent voters?
No, not on the primary.
Nope.
But in the general you would?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the general, if there's an independent candidate that's running, then they can vote for them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Any more questions? All right.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
You can just choose whichever one.
So once the check-in process is complete, and this is where we're going to get more into those receipts that are printed, the ballots might be at a separate table. They might not. If the ballots are at the same table, which we can go ahead and go to the next slide, I think. Yeah. So if the ballots are at the same table as the poll pads, once the receipts print, you will take that receipt and you will read the receipt that says their name, their precinct, which is super important. You're going to find their precinct. You're going to go to those 2 ballots that say Charlestown 4. You will go to the Charlestown 4 ballots. Then under that, it will say, or above that, it will say Democrat or Republican, and you will grab the corresponding ballot.
What's on the receipt?
Yes. So this is where, if the ballot table's separate, the voter, you will hand them, so if you're at the poll pad but the ballot table's over there, you will hand the voter their receipt. They will carry that over to the ballot table. If you're working at the ballot table, you're not going to ask them what party ballot they picked. You are going to take that receipt from them and read it. That way, this matches what they are getting over there, and that way no one can say, oh, I pulled Republican and chose Dem on the receipt. Numbers are going to be off, and that looks very bad, and we do not want that. Mm-hmm.
I've got a question. I have a friend who has an out-of-state license who has an Indiana address.
Nope.
How do you handle that?
They
It has to
cannot
be
vote.
an Indiana state issued license.
If they have a passport, they can use that.
Yep.
Yep. So again, super, super important. You are never asking them what party ballot they pulled. You're going to read that receipt, and then you're going to go off of that. All right?
Also, the ballots will have a stripe along the top of them, either red or blue, just to kind of lead you into the direction of which party it is.
Yeah, and so we're gonna show pictures of the receipts and pictures of what a ballot would look like. So after that has gone through, and you've associated which ballot they're gonna get and you've picked it up, if you're at the ballot table, whether there's poll pads there or not, whoever is working at that ballot table, on the back of the ballot, there will be one big box with a line in the middle, one clerk from each party, clerk or judge, depending on who's at that table, will initial their initials on the back. And we'll show a picture of that. After they have been given the correct and initialed ballot, you're going to take that poll pad receipt, you're going to put it into a baggie, little Ziploc baggie. Some might say poll pad receipt baggie. You're going to put every single one into that baggie because that comes back to us on election night. So next slide.
So on the ballots, do they initial them right before they hand them to them, or do they
So
yeah,
your initials should be you stating that, yep, that's what they need, that's what I'm giving them, I'm initialing it.
Yeah, so you're never going to initial a full packet once, and we kind of emphasize that. You're only going to initial when you're handing the ballot off. You do not want to put your initials on ballots that are going to go out if you end up taking a lunch break and stepping aside and someone else is handing those ballots out. No one here should want that. So do not initial ballots ahead of time. Don't initial 10 ahead of time. Don't even initial 1 ahead of time. You should be initialing those when you are about to hand it to the voter. All right?
Because you and your counterpart there, your bipartisan team, is saying we're giving the person the right ballot.
Yes.
You're essentially making that ballot live.
Yes.
So if you go ahead and sign and initial them, those ballots are live and active.
What, we initial them?
When you're giving them to the voter.
If you're at the ballot table.
If you're at
Yes.
the ballot
We
table.
don't want to be on the news.
That's correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Jeffersonville.
Yes.
Election.
Exactly. It is also just about to say something off.
Did you have a question?
Well, I was just gonna say suggestions on how to deal with somebody that's been doing this 40 years and they.
Oh yes, thank you for saying that.
insist on-
You just jogged it. If your inspector says we're going to initial all of the ballots right now, no. You call us immediately. Even if your inspector is yelling at you, if your inspector and Dem judge are both yelling at you, get us on the phone, put us on speakerphone, we'll yell right back. There is no reason that your inspector should be telling you to do something that we have told you not to do. All right?
Hopefully everybody who comes to training understands that too.
Yeah.
I don't know if she comes to me.
Yeah. So please, please, please. And it is very important that you tell us when it's happening, maybe a couple of minutes after it's happening. Do not wait to tell us the next day, end of election day, week later, months later, year later. The moment we know, we can pass it on to the county election board, and they can do something about it right then and there, and that is very important for us. We would like to make sure that the people working that are supposed to be above you to help you all know what they're supposed to do and follow rules. All right? Mm-hmm.
Is that new, or that should have always been that way?
It should have always been that way.
Wow.
Yeah. The issue is we have people telling us the next day and later on, and there's nothing we can really do because we don't catch it live, essentially. So it's just very important that if anything like that's happening, tell us. If you feel uncomfortable with anything, you might just need an explanation on why it is that way, please call us.
On election day, just give us a call when that happens. I think I know
Yes.
where you work, so.
And it's on the back.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I do. I gotcha.
Yes, you can text us. My personal number will be on there. Angela's personal number will be on there. So if you're comfortable texting, send us a text. Just kind of say, this is who I am, where I am, this is my inspector or my judge, and this is what they're saying and doing.
Where is there? It'll be on where? What?
It's on the back of the presentation.
Right here.
Oh, on our thing.
Yes.
It's going on speed dial.
Yes, perfect. Love to hear it. And I love dealing with drama and I love dealing with crazies. So I'm impartial, send them my way. So now we're gonna jump back to the poll pad receipts. Like I said, it gets printed after they check in. As you can see, make sure you are paying very, very, very close attention to their precinct. You do not need to worry about splits. That's why it's not mentioned. Splits don't matter, but they're still going to be on there. pay attention, their precinct as well as their party. So as you can see, we've got one Dem and we've got one Republican up here, for example. So this one's mine. It'll say my name, my address, date of birth, ID, yada yada, my precinct, don't worry about split, and my party ballot pool. All right? Again, we say this on multiple slides. Once that poll pad receipt is printed and they have chosen, they cannot go back. If they become belligerent, if they try and argue, go to inspector or send them our way. Mm-hmm.
On the ballot, where it says split, what is the difference between when it says 0 or it says county, for instance?
Don't worry about it. Not important to this election. Literally doesn't matter. So if you're really interested, you can call us up tomorrow during office hours and we'll explain it to you. It's pretty boring, but it does not matter in this election right now.
It don't matter in.
So we're not even going to put it into your heads of why it's important. Any more questions? Yeah.
What happens if somebody comes and they're not in that precinct?
Try to get them to the right precinct.
Yes.
How do we find out?
So the poll pad will say wrong location in red letters. If they are refusing to go to their polling location, send them to the inspector. Inspector will get trained on what to do with them. Especially if it's the middle of the day, they have time to get there. And if they showed up at the wrong one, sucks that you didn't do your research on where you're supposed to go. Sorry.
So the poll pads also will tell you where they're supposed to go.
They'll give you an
You can
text it
through the poll pad. You can print off directions to their poll pad. There's also an option where you, if they want, you can type in their phone numbers and it will text them where to go.
It'll text them a Google.
For each person.
It can literally be a minute. Like, I'm very comfortable with it. So if I were to check someone in right now, under a minute.
But they do it themselves, I'm saying.
They only choose their party, accept, and sign. You'll be doing everything else. Yep. So we're really going to focus on mine because that will be the 2 sample ballots that we're going to look at next. So on mine, again, Dem, Charlestown 4. Ryan's will say Republican, Jeff 40. All right? Do not worry about splits. Don't even think about it. Next one. So this is the front of the ballots. Over here, on the left, is the Republican ballot. On the right is the Democrat ballot. They are both Charlestown 4. So this would be looking at my precinct. All right? So the front is going to have, you can kind of see the red and the blue. That is probably the quickest way to identify which ballot is which, obviously. But it also says official Republican primary, official Democratic primary, the date of the election, and the precinct. That is what you will be looking for on the ballots if you're at the ballot table and you're looking from the receipt to the ballots. That is where you will identify. All right? Yeah? Okay. So again, each precinct will have a Republican and a Democrat ballot. So going back to what we talked about on setup, when you're organizing the ballot table, you will organize first by precincts, and then you will organize the precinct as a Republican and Dem ballot pile. All right? You want to keep those separate. You do not want to give them a ballot that doesn't match.
So
all
for
right?
instance, you're in Jeff 14, correct?
Wherever TJ is.
TJ, you're Jeff 14. You only have one precinct, so you're just gonna have Jeff 14 Republican.
I think the last time we had like 2 and
That was the splits. That was the
Is that what
split.
it was?
We don't need to worry about
Municipal
those.
election.
So this time you're just gonna have Jeff 14, and then you'll have Republican and Democrat. But you're at Riverside, so you'll have 20, 21, 22. You'll have 3 different
Right,
ballots.
because they changed mine where I was, where my
Yeah.
vote was at the church. And they
Yeah.
put together now.
So you'll have 3 precincts, and all 3 of those precincts will have 2 ballots to them. Republican and Democrat. So you'll have 6 ballots. So you need to keep all of those separate.
You have 3 precincts, right?
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, you have 3 precincts. This one gets Dem Republican,
Yeah.
this one gets Dem Republican, this one gets Dem Republican.
Because there's different people running for each precinct.
Yeah.
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 So if
All
someone
right.
comes in and they need a Jeff 21, you have to make sure that they get 21.
Well, hold on. We're going to cover it on the next slide,
No,
but it's
not
important
the
to
ballot.
note, right here,
You'll
the
have-
Republican one says vote both sides. The Dem one says you now have completed voting. You can go to the next slide. This election, there are certain offices that only Republicans are running for. That is going to be the precinct committeeman. I think that's literally the only one. The Republicans are running precinct committeemen. It's at the very top left of the Republican ballot. The ballot on the left side. Precinct committeeman, Charlestown 4. The Dems do not have that. You will also notice state convention delegates. The Democrats did have state convention delegates running for at-large. However, there were not enough people who filed for candidacy to have a competition, so it is not on the ballot at all. All right? Any questions about that? Because I know there's going to be questions about that. So, essentially, there were not enough people to have a competition, so they are not on the ballot at all. They won.
Is that only in Charlestown?
No, that is all. The Democrats run at large, which is every precinct in the county. Yep. So you will also have some of the Republican ballots. Their precinct committeeman won't be on there because either no one ran or only one person ran. So there's no competition. They're not on the ballot. That's an Indiana law. All right? Yes.
On that Republican side of the state convention delegates, that's a long list, and there are 14.
Thank you for pointing that out. So, state convention delegate, if you read that, it's kind of hard. I know it might be printed weird. They vote for not more than 14. They can vote for 0. They can vote for 1. They cannot vote for 15.
What happens if they vote for 15?
Then it doesn't count.
None of them are counted.
But there'll be no error message or nothing?
No.
It'll say that they overvoted, but you just cast it as what it is.
That's not our problem.
No, that will be
it could be your problem if they pull a Republican ballot.
The inspector will deal with it, or their judge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You all will hopefully not have to deal with the big stuff like that.
Are the Grady's related? John and Celia?
Listen, I don't. There are so. Truthfully, you can go online to our website and look at the sample ballots. I love pointing out we've got Paint Lady. I know there's someone running for coroner who put their nickname as Dude, which I think is hilarious. Yeah. So there is a lot of people. They were very excited to run, but yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. So it's just very important to note that the Dem and the Republican ballots are going to look different, and you might have people ask because they know someone who's running. You all know someone who was running for the Dem at large. It was me. I won. Woo! Yada yada. So going back to what we talked about, the initialing of the ballots. Right here, we've got Ryan's initials as the Republican. We have my initials as a Republican. You will put, or as the Democrat. You all will put your initials. You're not going to put ours. All right? So whatever your initials are, put yours.
Does it matter who's on top? And
Doesn't matter. Nope. Does not matter. You can argue over it. Yeah. Red pin. That's why they're both in red, but I highlighted our names to show you the party. Yes.
What's the Dem at large? What do you do?
You can call our office tomorrow and ask during business hours. We got a few more things to go through. But nothing that big. Not enough for a bunch of people to run. All right, so the next slide. Close of the polls. So, at 6 is the official close of the polls. You'll go off the time on the poll pads. All right, not your phone, not your inspector's phone. On the poll pads. If there's an issue there, call us. You already know what to do if your inspector's being stupid. Your inspector might assign one of you all to go stand behind the last person in line. If there is a line at 6, you will stand there behind that last person, and if anyone tries to walk up, you have to turn them away. At 6, polls are closed, but those people who were in line waiting were there. They get to vote. Anyone comes up 6:01, sorry, you gotta go. All right? If you got an issue, tell them to call us. So clerks and judges, you're going to report the total amount of check-ins. We showed that on an earlier slide if you want to go back and look, but the check-ins are going to be up here in the middle of the pole pads. You're gonna have a few things to do while your inspectors and the DEM judges kind of go through getting the really, really important stuff that they have to bring back to us. So you might take the signage kit down, put that back into it. You're gonna disassemble and unplug everything on the pole pads, return the correct pole pad numbers with the pole pad number printers to the correct numbered case. All right? They might also, while they're doing the ballot bag and making sure all the voted ballots get in there, you're going to take those unvoted ballots and bring them over to wherever that DS200 is. Make sure all of the unvoted ballots get in there after they've taken all of the voted ballots out. Again, they might assign you to help with other tasks. Please follow them. It's going to help all of you all get out of there a lot quicker. So just listen to them, especially if you're just standing there lollygagging around and they are asking you to take down signs. Like, just do it. So all poll workers should stay and clean up. Make sure the place looks the same way it did when you all got there. Besides the machines, some of the machines kind of need to be cleaned up, like the poll booths and all that. But just make sure that the location looks nice. Reset it. There's not trash anywhere. You have all of your stuff. The inspector will dismiss you, then you're free to leave, and that will be the very last thing of your night, hopefully. Unless you forget something in there, you're out of luck. We don't have to watch that video. It's very easy to put these back in. It's the exact opposite of how you saw it being taken out. And you saw where everything goes. I'm hoping you can put the puzzle pieces together. So, the next thing is this year we have something new. So if you have worked before, this is very, very important for you to know. Now that I'm in charge of poll pads, we have turned on the video call function. So this is going to be a new way to contact us. So you are going to have, going back to that envelope icon that we talked about in the top right, when you click that, you get this small drop down. Right now it says no unread messages if we haven't sent messages. You can join the chat. When you join the chat, it takes you to this screen. On this screen, on the right side will be that text messaging area. As you can see, that's a picture of when I was testing it. So that's what it will look like when you're sending a message from the poll pad. It'll be blue. I believe mine would be gray or black or something, coming from one of the workers. So the text messaging will be the first way to contact us. If you have multiple poll pads, hopefully your inspector chooses one that will be the main messaging or function to chat with us, essentially. So messaging will be the first option. However, if it requires some type of visual component to it to explain it to us, then we might instruct you all as clerks, if you're going to be working that one, or maybe your inspector takes it, to press click to start. This is going to put you on essentially FaceTime with us. It's not going to immediately join. We won't immediately join the call. And it's not going to put its camera on you all. It's going to be the back camera of the poll pad. I thought everyone would like that, so you don't accidentally just, whoo. So this works just like FaceTime if you all have iPhones. If you don't, it works just like a video call like Skype or Zoom. So click to start. You will join the call. We won't be on there. We will get a message on our computers, and then we will be able to join the call. So this is the next component up of messaging if it requires a really long explanation that can't be typed out super quick. So that is something that we can do. We might also call you all. So we're going to go over some pop-ups and stuff like that. If there's an issue and it's just something quick to solve, you will get something like this that pops up from us. So it'll say new text message from command. So we're referred to as the command center. All right. So if you have a poll pad that's at 38%, I might message your polling location. That little message is going to show up on all of the poll pads. You can take one, open the text on one iPad, keep the others going on check-in, and you can see, I'm going to tell you either a specific number. So this one is 73 in front of me. Yes. So I'll tell you, hey, 73 is on 38%. Can you charge it? And then you know right away what needs to be fixed. I've given you the number and what needs to happen. Done. That way, we don't have to try and call the inspector, get a hold of them, interrupt anything they're doing, and it's a quick fix. So just pay attention. Most of them will have the sound on, so you'll hear a little chime that comes across with that. When you click that envelope, this is that drop down, what it'll look like if you have unread messages. All of the poll pads will be able to see the messages as if they're new. So if that little number up there gets annoying of the unread messages, just mark all as read on yours. Next is if it is a very serious thing or you didn't respond to our text message thing, then we will send it as an alert. This will go to all of the poll pads and it will black out the rest of the screen and it'll just be this in the middle. As I said, do not press OK until you have read what it says. All right? Now, it might be that you need to read what it says, follow those instructions, and then you press OK, or it will be something that after you press OK, you have to follow those instructions. So please, 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 if you see that, read what it says, know what to do. If you do not know what to do or you're unsure what it means, hey, you can go back to that messaging and ask, what are you talking about? Yeah. So if you're on FaceTime waiting for us to answer for a while and you didn't get anything and the poll pad turns off and you open it back up and it's on this that says streaming interruption, do not worry. It is not that serious. I'm trying to find a way around this, but it's better that I tell you all if I can't figure it out. You might have 8 of these. You just need to keep pressing OK until it is gone completely. All right? So just keep pressing OK. Do not worry about it. So if we are calling your all's poll pads, every single poll pad will get the call from command center. This is what it looks like. There's an accept on the top and there's a decline on the bottom. You will press accept if the poll pad that you are at is the one that is designated for communication with us. If you aren't, you're going to press decline. When we ask you all to do the click to start and you're waiting for us to join the call, this is what it's going to look like. So it's got the back camera on. That's your camera. And this is what we will appear on waiting for you all. All right? Any questions? All right.
The new messaging will kind of be the easiest way to get a hold of us. We have 3 phones in the office and we have 3 people up there.
Yes.
And we have 33 locations that are all calling us at 6 a.m.
Yes.
And so are voters.
And so are voters and everybody and their mother.
Yeah. So it's going to be way easier for us to answer your question about, hey, what do I do in this? If 2 of you are texting me the same question, I'm able to type out a reply while I'm on the phone with an inspector with a bigger issue going on. All right? So it's a really, really easy way for us to fix those small issues very quickly, very right there in front of you. You won't have to get on your phone or deal with service connection issues because hopefully you'll be connected to the Wi-Fi or the hotspot that you all have or your cradle point. Yeah. So lastly, and we talked about this earlier, if you work at the location where you normally vote, congrats, you can vote on election day there. If you do not, we have 2 early voting locations right now. One is in our office at the courthouse, downtown Jeff, not the one on River Ridge. That is going to go the rest of this week and Saturday, all of next week and Saturday, and then it ends May 6th at noon. It goes from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. normally, but on May 6th, which is the Monday before election, it ends at noon. So if that's the easiest one, please come to that. We also have another one, and this is a polling location, but everyone can vote there. It works the exact same way the courthouse does. Every single person in all of Clark County can vote if they're eligible to vote. So this is at the Tri-Township Fire Station. It's got different times. It only goes from Monday through Friday, and it's from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. All right? Any questions? This will also end May 3rd, which is next Friday. Questions about anything? We do have the poll pads plugged in and turned on if you all would like to see demonstrations, try the check-in process. They're both on training mode, so we can really go through and show you all what the exact training process would look like. Yes?
How do you know where you're going to be placed?
We do have the list for check-in of where you're being placed, but most likely the person who organized you all together should have told you. But if you go back to our lovely table back there
They'll be able to tell
where
you.
you checked in, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more questions? If you have any or want to check the poll pads, just come up here.